Good afternoon. This is Aaron Berk from Roundtable TV, and I'm here today with Curtis Clay of Harlan J. Berk Limited to discuss a very unique Galba Sestertius. And I'm going to kind of turn it around here. There we go. Okay, so this is Curtis Clay. Say hi. How you doing? It's from Harlan J. Berk Limited, and he's got a really cool coin to show us today.
Yeah, it's not a unique coin, but it's a very fine and rare and interesting one. You see on the obverse, it has a very sort of unhappy-looking portrait of Galba. He's got his mouth closed very firmly, but in very high relief and very carefully modeled. Certainly as fine as any Sestertius portrait of Galba during his reign. And on the reverse...
And his reign dates are 68 to 69.
68 to 69, right. He just made it into 69. He was killed on the 15th of January, 69.
How was he killed?
He didn't adopt the right person to be his successor. And that guy, Piso, had him killed by the Praetorians. Because he wanted to become emperor.
I see.
Yeah. So on the back it has...
Let me hold it and you can talk about it. There you go.
Has an oblocutio scene, that is an address to the army scene, of Galba on a platform here with one of his officers behind him in military dress. In front of the platform you can see facing to the right two lictors with fasces over their shoulders. And then facing the emperor are two soldiers with shields and spears. And between the two soldiers, a little bit hard to see in this specimen, there is actually a horse. You can see the horse's leg down here.
Oh, yeah.
There.
Yeah.
And the horse's head is here. It's a little not quite as clear here. We'll see a clearer one a little bit later. And
this would this been the personal guard of Galba at the time?
He's addressing the army. It might be he's not exactly sure what occasion is shown here. I mean, it could be his departure from Spain, addressing his troops before he was proclaimed emperor when he was governor of Spain. So then he came to Rome. Or it could be his arrival in Rome and greeting the Praetorians. We're not absolutely sure about that. Yeah, I forgot to mention. There's three standards behind the soldiers too. One has a hand on it, one has a legionary eagle, and one has it's a vexillum, has some cloth at the top. Now we recently acquired this coin. It's in our current list, as Aaron was saying, I think.
I actually have a link to it on this live video. There's a link in there if you want to look at the coin online.
It comes from the collection of a good old friend of mine, Philip Peck, in New York City, and he had bought it from. It came out of two famous sales. He bought it from Stack's sale of the Hall Park McCulloch collection in 1967. Before that, it had been the collection of Sestertius, who was a French diplomat. And the Sestertius sale was the final of the famous series of Ars Classica catalogs, Ars Classica 18, 1938 or 1938, I think. And this coin is interesting. Not only, I mean, you can see it's a very historically interesting coin and very fine style. And the amazing thing is it comes from a series of sestertii that Galba struck, almost all of which are interesting types, many multi-figured types usually, and they're all rare. They only occur in a couple of dies each.
Now, typically you'll have a specific circa date on these. Is it just there's no date on it to identify it to a specific month or year?
We'll be getting to that. But it seems now this. Let me just. I mean, Colin Cray considered this to be. I mean, he said all types are rare and mostly elaborate and medallic in character. The whole issue, laying great stress upon the personal activities of Galba, as Colin Cray wrote. Now, Harold Mattingly considered this series to be posthumous, struck after Galba's death by Vespasian, mainly because some of the same reverse types that we'll see were repeated by Vespasian in 71. So he thought the whole issue might have been produced in 71, honoring the deceased Galba. But Cray was able to show that that's not the case. Apparently, this is the issue. Galba had been striking Sestertius for several months while he was still in Spain and making his way to Rome. And apparently when he arrived at Rome, he decided to improve the quality of his Sestertius. And he got new artists and brought all these unusual types into use. And then he was killed very soon afterwards. That's why the coins are quite rare. Probably the date of this is around October 68 to 15th of January 69. So not posthumous, but Galba's final regular issue. And Cray found that not only some of the types of this Sestertius were reused by Vespasian, some of the actual dies, Galba's actual dies, were reused by first Vitellius and then Vespasian. So it's not a matter of reviving these types. They're just taking over some of Galba's dies, and that's what misled Mattingly into thinking it was posthumous. So Cray did a monograph on the coins of Galba. It was part of his dissertation at Oxford University before he switched to Greek coins, because that was the position open at the museum for curator. And he did a die study, one of the first die studies of Roman coins, and he did all of Galba's Sestertius and illustrated one of each die. This is his book, and you can see here are the 11 obverse dies that he knew of from this issue. Here is our die. You can see maybe even better his sort of frown and scowl here of Galba. This one has the same sort of type, with a sort of cheeky, jowly face, and quite a fierce look to him.
And when was this published?
This was published in 1956.
56.
Yeah.
Okay.
It continued to cover all of the bronze coins of Vespasian at the beginning of his reign. So that's how we discovered all these die links.
Mm-hmm.
Now here are the.
Is this one published in here?
This one is published in there. Yes, it is.
Which one? Where is that in here?
It's this obverse die and this reverse die. Not the actual coin is published, but it's the same dies.
So that's the die link between these two here.
Yeah.
Okay. He could have used it though, because this was out around the same time, because this was published.
Right.
Our coin came out in 1938 originally.
Right.
So.
Right.
It's curious that he didn't use it. If he didn't know about it.
Well, there were other nice ones that he had casts of, and so he only wanted to illustrate one nice one from each die.
Got it.
I mean, here you can see that this is our die, and then there's one other die, which is known with the ad locutio type. It's basically the same, except it has SC is in the exurg, and over here it's faint, but it's SC in the field here.
And what does this mean down here?
It means ad locutio, addressed to the troops, addressed to the army. It's the same. It's the same type.
Which
occurs in two dies. Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah. And then there are two dies showing a very interesting scene, apparently of Spain presenting the Palladium, which is a symbol of Rome and Roman power, to Galba, who is seated on a throne. We know that he declared himself to be. He sort of revolted from Nero, but then he wasn't sure that the people who were revolting against Nero were going to prevail. So he withdrew to a Spanish city called Clunia to see what was going to happen. And then at Clunia, the news was brought to him that Nero had been killed and the Senate had declared him emperor. So here we have Spain presenting control of the empire to Galba. And the legend is Hispania, and here's Clunia actually mentioned, little Spanish town. And Sul must stand for Sulpicius. Sulpicius is an odd choice for a name of Galba. So there's two dies of that one. Then there's one which is the commonest type of the issue, but still very nice type, with Annos et Virtus, the two figures of honor and military prowess standing face to face. Then this is a unique coin in Paris, which just says the pietas of the emperor, the dutifulness of the emperor, but has a very interesting and unique type of an altar with Aeneas and Anchises on it here, and apparently a bull's head above it. We're not actually sure. It says only this one specimen survives in Paris, so that's as clear as you can see it. Then there are two types with the emperor restoring a female figure. Here there's Roma restored, the emperor in military dress restoring Roma, raising Roma to her feet. And here it's Libertas who gets restored, Libertas restituta, apparently with Roma standing in the background in this case, and the emperor wearing a toga, not a military.
So this is this whole series of Sestertius at the time.
This is this small final issue of Sestertius of Galba, all very rare, with many multi-figured types.
And why do you think he did that then?
Just because he'd arrived at Rome and he saw that his coins weren't very interesting, and he said, "Well, we can do better than that."
I see. Okay. Excellent. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else to say, or is that? It's quite a bit about this coin.
Yeah, it's an interesting coin.
Yeah, with an amazing pedigree.
Yeah.
So.
One more thing I might say was, this is one of the first books I had of a study of Roman coinage. It was published in 1956. I probably got my copy around 1962 when I was a senior in high school and freshman in college. And I was very impressed by the book, and especially by this series of Sestertius. And one time I was visiting my friend Phil Peck in New York, and I happened to have the book here, and I said, well, I'm going to show off this nice series to him, too. In particular, one Sestertius of Galba, which is the same dies as ours. It's probably the best known. And I said, look at that, isn't that amazing? And he said, well, I have one of those, too, which is almost as good. And this is the coin.
And here's the coin.
Yeah. I mean, this one was in the J.P. Morgan collection. And it comes from a famous sale in 1907. That's where the Morgan got it.
I see.
And it is sharper than this one, probably. It has better detail.
So he was telling you about this one in 62?
Yeah, it's around 1970 or so. He bought it in 67. Here you can see the horse more clearly. There's the eye of the horse and the nose of the horse, and here's the foot of the horse. So this is a bit clearer in the details. However, it's stripped. It has sort of river patina, whereas ours has a nice dark.
What's interesting is in 1938, this sold originally in the Ars Classica sale, but then it didn't come up again until 1967.
Yeah, it's only 30 years.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, but it ended up in a stack sale, so an American probably bought it.
Yeah, it was this guy Paul Hall McCullough. He came from a wealthy family. He had a big villa in upstate New York. He collected other things too, but he had a nice collection of Roman coins. That's one of the best stack sales of Roman coins. In Hall Park McCullough, 1967.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Curtis. Appreciate it. And make sure you follow Roundtable TV. Make sure you watch, because we're going to have an auction tomorrow night on Roundtable TV. So if you haven't watched that or signed up to get a notification about it, please do so. And talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye.